Hi there, how are you? Welcome to M Talks. The topic this time is going to be money works. Money works, doesn't it? At times it feels as if money is the only thing that works in this world. Money today has become a measure, a huge measure for most things. Money measures success, money measures performance, money determines status. Why money has become the measure for intelligence as well. Rich people are considered smart. On the flip side, no rich person can be wrong or silly. Money has started classifying people into different categories. You've heard of the rich, the super rich, the neo rich, the high net worth individuals, the middle income group. Various categories formed on the basis of the quantum of money they possess. How did money become such a huge deal? How did money turn out to be the measure of human lives? Sometimes when things become too big and too complicated, it's a good idea to look at how it all began, the origin of money. The bigger question is, what was the need with which money was created? Why was there a need for money? What was the situation that drove people to come up with money as a solution? The utility of money. And then we will look at all those aspects which help money grow into what it is today or become what it is today. We look at banks. We will look at risk mitigation, how it evolved. We look at insurance. We look at all the different ways money started growing by itself. We look at investments, look at stock markets, look at mutual funds, look at commodities, look at various things that influenced money and money's growth and evolution. See, the intention here is not to profess expertise or to try and make you one. The idea is to break these into smaller, manageable, and understandable concepts so that we can take informed decisions in a very confusing, complicated, and a dynamic environment. See, the other thing that we need to keep in mind is, as individuals, we are differently motivated. Experts and advisors can give us suggestions, opinion, feedback, inputs on various aspects. But end of the day, it is up to us to figure out what works for us, specifically money. You might decide to spend all of it, but if you have enough sustainable income, sure, why not? That again is your decision. It is based on what objectives, how you want to go about your life. Okay, let's take it from the top. How did all this start? How did people survive before money as a medium of exchange came into being? How did they live their lives? They used a simple system called the barter. Barter is a basic exchange system. You exchange what you have with what you need. But then the person who has what you need has to need what you have as well. For example, I have milk and I need eggs. First of all, my challenge is to find somebody who has eggs. Secondly, the person who has eggs has to have a need for milk, otherwise he's not going to exchange with me. The second problem was the unit measure. How many eggs I trade for how much of milk, or how much of milk for how many eggs. This became a bigger problem. This made people go round and round in circles. They had to figure a way out. And then it was the early Chinese. Okay, perhaps I should put things in perspective here. History is all about documented information with conjecture. The point here is not the accuracy of the historical data, but just to give you inputs on how things probably evolved or how things flowed. Anyway, coming back to this, it was the early Chinese who came up with objects as mediums of exchange. Essentially, they were weapons those days. Weapons, you must remember, were important those days. They were important tools for hunting, important for protection, and so on and so forth. So this went around as a medium of exchange for a while. And then once people had sufficient quantity of weapons, they found the value dropping, the need for weapons reduced. So they had to find other metals to be used as mediums of exchange or to make items that can be used as mediums of exchange. They toyed around with different types of metals based on their uh, long lasting quality, based on their ease of maintenance, based on the weight, and a lot of different aspects. Then they arrived at bronze to be an ideal metal to make tradable forms. They started making coins out of bronze. This brings me to an interesting question. Have you ever wondered why coins are always round? Why not flat or rectangular? There are a couple of theories, more than a couple actually. But the important theories were like those days they could never make rectangular or flat coins on an even keel, meaning that the metal was not distributed evenly across the surface. It was thinner in the center and thicker in the edges, so it was not really light. And there's another interesting theory which talks about how a rectangular or a square coin will have sharp edges. And we must remember those days they used to carry coins in satchels made out of hide or some sort of fabric. So these coins would tear the satchels. So it became difficult to carry for long periods of time. Anyhow, whatever the reason, round it started off and round it continues to be, barring minor variations here and there. Okay, moving on. And then what happened was once they had bronze, or they had identified bronze as an ideal metal to make coins out of. The coins were made in units, as in each coin had a unit value. And then they were looking for higher valued metals, metals which you can make more stored value coins out of. So silver came into play. Silver was the most popular metal with which coins were made. The Greeks took a fancy for silver. The Greek drachmas were made out of silver. And you must have heard of mythological characters or watched movies where Greek warriors, when they die, they are passed on with 2 coins on their eyes to pay the ferryman to ferry them from this world to wherever they're supposed to travel. So silver coins became very popular. And they were traded at a particular exchange value between silver and bronze. They say that those days the bronze coins were traded at 4 for a piece of silver. I don't know how historically accurate this fact is, but this is hearsay. So silver continued. In fact, silver became so popular that even today some people refer to coins as silver. And then they were looking for higher stored value products. There came a metal which I would call it a crazy metal because it took the world by storm and continues to take the world by storm. The obsession or fascination for this metal has consumed humankind, continues to consume humankind. People die for it, people kill for it. Yes, I'm talking about gold. Why this fascination or obsession for gold is still an enigma. How it all started, nobody knows. I think it was the early Egyptians, the pharaohs specifically, who took this fancy for gold. They started adorning their palaces with gold, made statues out of gold. They even buried their dead with gold alongside. And then it continued. The Romans also, different civilizations, they caught this fancy or obsession for gold. So much so, as economies, countries, trade evolved, even the paper money was printed based on the value of gold a particular country had. which means any other country that was trading with this country knew that the paper money was backed by sufficient quantity or equivalent quantity of gold. This was referred to as the gold bullion standard. Then, of course, printing of paper money, the basis on which paper money was printed, evolved, and it took on different parameters as well, like gross national product and exchange, and so many different aspects came into consideration. We are not going to talk about all that. That's a huge subject by itself. So, as we look at the evolution of money and as we looked at why money came into being, a couple of things that strike us as the key benefits or the utility that money was conceived with or conceived for. The basic being a medium of exchange, an acceptable medium of exchange, something that people will accept in return for exchanging any commodities, goods, or service, or providing any service. And then it became a stored value. It became a commodity where the value can be stored. I mean, X number of gold coins or gold bullion had X amount of value stored in it. In fact, the interesting fact is, remember I was talking about how paper money was being printed based on the value of gold an economy had. If you look at today's environment, gold is valued in terms of paper money. Look at how things have turned around. So, as money evolved, it found various other purposes it served as well. Apart from being a medium of exchange or a stored value, it evolved into something which people found varied uses for. For the purpose of this particular discussion, let's stick to some basic utility of money. And then we are going to move on to other aspects which actually help money grow into what it is now. Yes, that's going to be the next topic. We'll talk about banking next week. I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.